Hi everyone, it's Lennon, and I am kind of excited to be back in front of the camera again, even though you're not seeing my face today. But I'm excited because, first of all, I get to say hello to you guys. Hey, I know it's been a while, but while I've been on this little hiatus, two of my prototypes came in. And I've been kind of playing with them and been really excited about them. Now, these are both on my Make Playing Card shop, but because the prototypes haven't come in, I know that no one's had like a really good opportunity to see the cards and to interact with them in like a real sense. So I definitely wanted to come on today and share my lovely decks with you guys. So I've got this used to be called the Candescent Oracle, but I've changed the name to Luminescent Oracle. And it doesn't matter, the listing is still on there. You'll be able to tell, I've posted some pictures. You'll be able to tell that this is what this is according to the listing. So it's not gonna look like another deck. But anyway, this is oh my gosh, this was years in the making. I have always been fascinated by chiaroscuro art, which is kind of like this. It's like where there's a black and like a void black of a background, and then the portrait or the subject in the foreground is lit up by intense light. So there's a real play. There's always this real good contrast of light and dark, and I love that because I can literally get sucked into the void while looking at the light. So I've used mainly chiaroscuro art here from the Renaissance era, I guess like Caravaggio, and I've added some keywords to the bottom of each card, and it's just been a really good experience over the last couple of years. My very first prototype of this deck, like, it was grainy and all the font was different sizes, and it was just me trying really hard to get down to like what card, like the mechanics of what card making is. And now I'm not saying I perfected it by any way, but it's just been an incredible experience for me to make all of these decks and to put them together and like fine tune them. So I feel like that's what I did with this one, this Luminescent Oracle. And I love these little candles because at first it didn't have to be a reversible back, but then I kind of learned that, especially with this, I knew I wanted some kind of contrast in the back to match the fronts. And at first it was just going to be one candle and it wasn't going to be reversible, but then I started to get, I guess, the hype of aestheticism came through, and I was like, it looks better like this, like, you know. So it just looked better like this, and I was able to, do this on my photo editing software. So anyways, let's get started. They're not in any particular order. I didn't number these cards because I don't know. For me, Oracle is less about a structure than tarot, and it's mainly about just getting involved in the keywords, getting involved in the pictures, and it's an amalgamation, it's a collaboration with those two things for me, not so much that I want to put a structure onto a tarot deck, an Oracle deck, like there would be in tarot. So I don't have numbers on them. So I'm gonna squeeze my chair out of the way here and move this. This is the second one. We're gonna do a double feature today. And let's do it this way because I want the light to be able to pick up the card. There we go. Nice. Okay. Now I do somewhere have a list of all of the art that I have used. Now, if I could find that, I think I've written them all down on a piece of paper in a notebook somewhere, and y'all, if you guys have known me for any length of time, you know that I've got 1,000 notebooks around here. So if I can find it, then I could probably type something up if you're interested in this, like the art behind it, and maybe post the list in like a PDF file for you to download if that's something, if you're interested in the deck and want the art as well. So that might be something that I do someday. But anyways, so here we have absorption, And there's this feeling to me of vanity, but also the mirror itself is such a symbol, and it has such a story. And it may be vanity, it may be the fact that you lose yourself in how you look instead of how you feel, and how there's so much more than that with self-care. Got generation here. Now, some of these words, because I have generation, but then I have tradition. And to me, those are different things, because your traditions don't necessarily have to be bound by blood. They don't have to be bound by family. There are found families. There are non-blood relations that you consider family, and those things can have traditions as well. So they're not necessarily about ancestry and blood relations, but generation reminds me of the ties that we have with our blood relatives, whether they be good or bad. So, and I love that this child's face is looking at this elderly figure as a crone, literally, quite literally as a crone, as a figure of I'm looking up to you. I'm looking to you for guidance. I'm looking to you for wisdom. And I just felt that in this image. And some of these images are cut way down, so there's so much more going on in these paintings than what we see. But I also think that that's a beautiful practice sometimes when we're looking at art, is that you can pinpoint individual stories happening within one painting, especially these older, huge ones. Now, I've named this Perception because it looks to be like this figure is holding a snow globe of another figure. And I never could quite understand what this would have been back in that day that she would be holding. Maybe, I think it's a small painting. If I, kind of like you would have a wallet size picture of someone that you love in your wallet. I think it may be that, but who can say? So it's all about your perception of things. How, objects in the mirror may appear larger than they are. So things like that. Now this is tension. Now I know that some of these images may be hard to hash out the details, but if you notice, there's this figure down here that looks to be doing some kind of laundry, but then this figure is stopping the light, but then she's wielding a weapon. Like they hear something off in the distance, or they hear someone coming in, and it's this scared tension that they feel, but they're prepared as well. I thought that was just a beautiful concept, that they look terrified, but then they're also prepared for whatever's going to come around the corner. Estimation. This, like I said, is so much bigger in the real painting than this condensed version here, but it looks like this figure was measuring how tall you could place your hand above the flame before you get burnt. And that immediately screamed at me as experimentation, estimation, estimating how close or how far we need to be to something before we get hurt by it. And that's just a concept of human nature that we must have in our psyches. Avocation. Now with avocation, this is merely a word that means like you have a hobby, okay? And to me, it always looked like this lady was daydreaming. But to be honest, I imagine that there's something on this table that they're working on, and they're daydreaming as part of their project. They're thinking about their next move in their project. And it's kind of like if you had glue and, paper and paste out, kind of have to think, plan, and a lot of that goes into hobby making. I think that hobbies are something you love to do, but it's because your imagination is activated and your mind, you allow your mind to daydream in those instances where you love what you do. I love this. This isn't a chiaroscuro painting, but the fact that this figure is drinking with a burning a city burning in the background. It just goes to show that there are moments in our lives where we must prioritize. We must take care of ourselves while there may be chaos happening everywhere else. So it was just definitely something funny. Illusion. These figures are playing cards, but this figure appears to be cheating. We don't know that because there's just a bigger painting to consider, but when we look at just this image, it's cheating, and we don't really know if they're cheating or if they're whispering in this person's ear. I can't really tell, you know, and it's just illusionary in nature. I love that about it. Achievement. Some of these, because of the chiaroscuro art style that I went with, a lot of these paintings that I've chosen contain monk-like figures in these very isolated figures from history that have a job, like living in this, you know, basically doing work in the scriptorium. And I love looking at and researching that life, but there is a sense of achievement here because of this figure's age, because of the fact that he's writing, maybe mainly in terms of scriptoriums, where they used to write manuscripts, or this could just be he's writing his life story down. I'm not sure, but either way, it's just an achievement. Redirection, again, another busy card, but they're basically trying to hoist this figure up like on a cross, Jesus style, even though this isn't Jesus. And they're just redirecting him, and I just thought that was nice. Here's Narcissus. I've named this aptly reflection. Oh, excuse me, I had to have a drink. And I just barely got the reflection of Narcissus in the bottom. But I love how the colors, the contrast here pops. And how we can definitely tell this is a reflection, but the main figure here is Narcissus, and he's really out there in terms of the light. Nature. Even though you know that he's rolling in fabric, I just feel like he's like this forest dweller. Oblation. This is the weight of the world. Oblation is your lot in life, and for Prometheus, this is definitely his lot. Fulfillment. This also could be abundance. There's wheat and then there's fruit. I believe that fulfillment is what we make of it. And if collecting fruit and collecting the harvest, that's fulfillment. Manifestation. Here we see another figure in an elderly age, and then a young person, and there's so much connection between the two that I love to see. I love to see someone either teaching a young person. I love to see this in old art, but I also like to see the way that we manifest things is by working, and we can't manifest unless we're doing our work too. It was mainly because I love looking at the elderly versus the child and what they bring to the image, but then also because their work, this figure, the older figure, is working, and this one is lighting, so they have a job as well. And it's like when we work, this will happen. When we both work and we're working towards something, it'll happen. Resilience. The only reason I named this, there's again a huge painting outside of this, but it looked, when I zoomed into this figure, it looked like she was holding up the top of this card, and it just did something. It woke my soul up when I named this card Resilience, because if I would hold the top of this card up, that's the weight of the world, but there's not a hardness with that. Nurture. A play on nature, most likely in my own type of have to keep things even brain, but I just love that this isn't a figure of the Madonna and Child, but it reminds me of the Madonna and Child. just the reverence that she's holding the babe with. Now this is either, I think this is Baucis, inventing why it could be Dionysus, but I also believe that they can be the same figure, so. But I named it invention because this Baucis figure is actually squeezing the grapes into this cup, like they're in the process of inventing wine. I mean, what a beautiful thing to think about and ponder. And then illumination. We have candles. We have lots of candles in this deck, in these images, but it's the subtle way that this is illumination that I like. That it's not illuminated so much. It's almost like the moon card. So it's illusion versus illumination, and we're illuminating only what we can see that's not in shadow. It's not fully illuminated. Harmonization. Again, music and the beautiful nature of that. Now, this figure, I'm not sure. I always kind of felt like this figure was sleeping or they were crying, and that's why they have this cloth here, but really it was kind of a play on daydreaming as well, with their eyes closed. I wanted to have a card that would represent what this Renaissance era would have dubbed like the third eye activation. How would they have done that? And not that they would have. I'm not trying to speculate that they did do that. I just loved thinking about this figure's forehead being the prominent in the foreground, that maybe the third eye here is what I'm looking for. Remembrance. This figure's face just reminded me of someone in deep thought, someone trying to remember something. They're lost in their own thoughts. And you can tell by looking at someone whether they're off and deep in their minds. Oppression. Again, this is a Jesus-like painting where they're either taking him away, they're doing something. Another picture of Bacchus, but instead of him inventing, he's drinking. So he's taking what he invented and he's sitting there very like rosy cheeks, so he's already drunk. Basking in the abundance of his invention. Now this figure is holding what looks to be some kind of letter, but I named it petition because it could be that they're writing a petition to change something, to change rights, change people's rights. I think that's so important to think about nowadays too, is to fight for what you believe your rights are, and you're not getting that. You don't feel like you're getting that. And petitions are such a powerful way to get the community involved with those things. And it could even go into witchcraft a little bit, where you petition the gods, you write these petitions in terms of manifestation and the will, and it could be all that. It could be that this person is doing witchcraft in their bedroom. And I chose these words to reflect what this could be in terms of these times, but then also what we could make of them now. This is the classic, again, this is not dubbed Chiaroscuro, but this is the classic Nightmare painting by Fuseli that a lot of people love. And I don't necessarily believe that nightmares are tough, okay? I know that they are. I've had quite a few in my life, but it's more about right now, this picture looks to me like procrastination. Like they're using the excuse of this demon on their chest to not get up, even though this demon is less than half their size. And they can definitely just remove the demon if they want to. Transformation. This was so easy for me, because once I zoomed in on Judith, because that's who this is, it looked to be like Judith and this really elderly, extremely elderly person were the same, just looking in different directions, like they were trying to transform each other into each other, like this whole the magic of Ursula type thing, you know, like I want to be you, and we're just going to change, someone's going to do this, and it just seemed like they were the same person. They're transforming, but who's doing the transforming? Here's the tradition card I was talking about earlier, and it's not so much that I wanted this to be young, okay? It was more about storytelling and how since time began, traditions were storytelling. Traditions involved stories. How else would anyone have known what to do, how to bring in the crops, how to bring in the rain, how to do anything in terms of living without some kind of story to back up why we do what we do? Maybe it was a story of the gods, whatever, but this looked like this central figure here is sharing a story. I love that. Innocence. I had to have some cherubs in here, even though they really don't seem to fit, but I needed to have them in here for some reason. I needed this feeling of innocence in this otherwise harsh deck for me. Harsh in terms of light. Obscure. This lady here is holding a mask, and I love that we see the mask here, that we see a mask at all. I just love that. Foundation. I named this because I'm envisioning this bag to have sand in it, and he's going, this figure is going to pour sand to make a foundation, and how crucial that work is. He may not build anything other than the foundation for this entire building / house or dwelling of some kind, but the foundation is the most important part, and I just needed something to reflect that. This is Jesus, and I'm calling this demonstration. I believe that this actually is called the demonstration, not the painting, but this moment in time where Jesus is showing the disciples where he got sliced in his rib cage or cut, and it's such a crucial moment in the time of Jesus that, you know, most Christians know about, but the fact that we have things in our lives that we want, that we can demonstrate, and we can teach through demonstration. Contribution. Again, there's this big aspect here in this entire deck of working. It's a work deck. It's a life deck. We need to contribute. We need to collaborate. We need to petition. And it's just like these things that we would do that this oracle can help bring about. Contribution is, this lovely elderly man is holding up the music for this angel to play the violin. And how seemingly contradictory that feels to have this angel playing this harp or this musical instrument, and have this ethereal music playing from heaven, but have this human seemingly helping. It just kind of seems like a contradiction, and I love that. I love that we have to work with our gods. That there's such a collaborative feel to the way we speak and work with our own deities. Contentment. We see this figure a lot in this deck because back then most artists used the same models over and over again. But this look of joy on this figure's face just pulls you in. You see other people's hands, you see an instrument, but they're not playing the instrument. It's just this contentment. I'm sitting at this restaurant, I'm sitting anywhere, and we're playing. We've got music going. We're a conversation going, and it's just this. it doesn't have to be like full-blown elation. It can just be contentment, and it's beautiful. I don't believe that all of life is filled with elation and joy. Contemplation. Now this is, of course, is this Perseus? I believe this is Perseus looking for the Morai. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I believe it is. But it's the look on his face. And he's looking either down in the cauldron or he's looking where they're pointing. And it's just like, his contemplation is stopping. Is stopping and trying to think of what am I supposed to do next. Okay, here we see another saint-like figure. And this is confirmation. Not confirmation, but conformation. The act of conforming. This figure seems to be writing, but the book is sliding off his lap. He's conforming to the world around him and not doing what he should be doing, or what he believes he should be doing, or what he wants to do. He's doing what the masses are doing, and I don't like how the book is sliding off his lap. I think that means that there's a little bit of a give up there, and I didn't like that. We're going to see another saint. But this one is comprehension. This saint is extremely focused in on this manuscript, and he's really trying to comprehend the symbols and comprehend which letter is getting magnified and what inks are we going to use. I mean, there's just real comprehension at work here. Now this is St. Catherine. She's the saint of the wheel. And it's the tie here between the wheel of itself, the tarot, the wheel of fortune and tarot, the fact that the wheel is the number 10, and all of that makes me think of completion at some degree, and how St. Catherine was very much about that as well. So this sense of completion here, you could look at it in terms of the image to match the image in the keyword, that this figure that we see is holding some kind of sword, rapier, and actually it's not a rapier, it's a sword, and has finished work on the wagon. So like she was working on the wheel or something. I don't know, to make it all match up. This is flotation. I love this image because I hate to say this, but this image looks a lot like me. It looks a lot like me. Same hair, same skin, almost same neck. And it was so uncanny for me to look at something that was painted so long ago and then to immediately see myself in it. That's such a wonderful feeling. But this look on this figure's face reminds me of floating in water. Even though they're not floating, their head is drawn back, but it reminds me of floating. And it's so crazy to look on and imagine that this is the blackness behind them is water. I love that. This also could be more of an elation than what we've seen previously. Ascension. This is a beautiful, beautiful image of they're rising up to heaven through this tunnel of light. Action. Again, this is busy, but we see soldiers here, and it doesn't look to be like they're fighting, but they're doing stuff, and it's beautiful. Evocation. Now, evocation is where it always looks to me like he's trying to evoke a feeling to the table. He's trying to bring forth a memory, bring forth a feeling, and the way the hand is gestured, like, you know, up and out, the palm is open and in a receptive way, but in a think about this, remember this time, you know, it's evoking a feeling across the whole table. And it's almost like when Jesus does this, the whole table hushes, like there's a hush that comes around. So I don't know, it's just something I like about this image. I love this image too. It's called idolization because of the statue here. It has nothing to do with this. It's just the beauty of this ritual that is happening. There is a ritual happening in this painting. This figure is burning incense or flower petals in this vessel here. But then there's this lovely picture, a lovely statue of, it doesn't have to be a goddess, but I'm envisioning it to be a goddess. This lovely goddess figure, could be Venus, could be whoever. But they're burning rose petals, right? Or they're floating in hot water. It doesn't matter. It's just, there's a ritual happening here. And with this deck being so heavy in Christian symbolism, it makes me think of the age-old thing where Christians didn't want you to have any idols, didn't want you to have idolization was a sin. But the fact that we see this in a chiaroscuro painting fascinated me. That here we have like mainly Christian iconography going on, and then we have this beautiful figure here doing a ritual. I loved that. So this completely embodies the sin aspect of it all to me, and I love it. Gratification. This beautiful Mary Magdalene painting. I love Mary Magdalene's depictions in art where she's crying and she's holding a skull. Like, there's just so much symbolism with her, and I love it. But this looking up to heaven and crying, like, just like remember that time where you've been extremely grateful for something. Like, you've just been tired and you can't do housework, but someone offered to come and wash your clothes for you to help you out, or someone brought you food. You know, it's like you've lost someone in your family and someone brings you a casserole. Like that, those harsh times you go through where you don't really want to ask for help, but then you've got people that love you and come do those things for you anyway. Those are really humbling experiences. So I love that Mary Magdalene depicted that here for us. Creation, this is someone with a paint palette. There's a painting going on in the background, but it's not the painting that's the idea here. It's the fact that they're just creating something, that they're in the act of creation, and that can take many forms. It's lovely. Here we see Judith and the old maid again, but this time it's an interference. Where last time it was a transformation, we see an actual interference, that Judith's face looks overwrought. It looks like she doesn't want to deal with the advice of this old figure. And I just think that this figure can't help themselves. They have to interfere, you know? I don't know, it just reminds me a lot of some instances I've had in my life. Oh my gosh, I love this image because there's not really a figure, there's not a portrait here, but the fact that we see this black mirror just screams scrying, and the practice therein, and how beautiful practice that is in my life, and the transmission that's going to come through. That's what this is. I love the hand gesture, the way that the fingers are painted here. Oh my gosh, I just can't get over it. This is a bright card. I wanted this connection card to be brighter than the others. And I know that, like some others, this isn't chiaroscuro, but the fact that this is a connection card between two figures means a lot in this dark deck. It means a lot to me in terms of the way we have connections with people. And that is in the light, and it needs to be in the light. It doesn't need to be in the shadow. Isolation. Right after connection. Isn't that weird? We have isolation. I love this long neck we see on this figure, which can be a symbol all on its own, but you can really see this figure isolated, and we don't know if they're liking it. We don't know if this is a sad pose or if this is a resting pose. I don't know, but either way, you can definitely tell that they're isolated. Here's Joan of Arc, the beauty. Of course, I had to name her Protection, because I feel like her most famous quote, "I was born to do this." That is a protection. Those were words of power used by her that I believe protected women for centuries. It's been protecting women for centuries. I love this. This is enchantment, because this is an actual enchantress of some kind. This illusionist / card, fortune teller, I don't know, but they're enchanting you. They're charming you. And I think that there's such a necessary form of charm that we need in our lives to keep the whimsy up. It can't just all be structure. There has to be some whimsy and some imagination and some sleight of hand to keep us interested. I just love that. Here's Atlas. I love that this particular painting shows that this globe has the zodiac symbols on it. I love that. You see Scorpio there. And the justice symbol. Anyways, suspension. We're holding the world up. We're holding some kind of globe, orb. And what is it for you today? What is the suspension you're holding up today? I love it. And then the last card is navigation. This beautiful monk-like figure. This isn't a monk. A monk-like figure, an isolated figure that is studying in their study, but then just pondering the globe, which I feel like if I had to study, I would do a lot. Just look at the globes, like look at all the other places to be, to research and to see. I just think that's beautiful. So, and this cardstock is not too slippery, if you wanted to know. I'm thinking about edging this in black. I mean, it just will look that much better to be edged. And it's on Make Playing Cards Smooth, and so it's not slippery, but it's not linen either. And shuffles pretty good to be the tarot, like a tarot size, but to be smooth. You know, you think it'd be slippery, but works pretty well. I think, and this is 50 something, late 50. Not late 50. I'm thinking years still, but it's like a high 50s, like 58 cards. I don't think it's over 60, but I don't think it's under 55, so I'll have to count them out for you guys. But anyways, there was a little walkthrough of the Luminescent Oracle for you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this little chat about it, even if you're not interested in the deck. And we're gonna go on to, after I pick a card from this, we're gonna go on to my Bell Book and Candle Oracle, which a couple of people have asked me about and have been interested in. So I can't wait to get into that. But we'll do that after I pick a card from this lovely oracle. Okay, nature. What a lovely image for us to ponder. Okay, and then the next prototype that came in was my Bell Book, what I'm calling Bell Book and Candle Oracle. Now, all these, this is pictures of, they're pictures of different things, but they're altars. They're altars on the seats of life, and I just love the complexity of witchcraft, and I love the complexity of how we can use it, how we can use nature, how we can use objects, how we utilize those things in our lives to help us. And some of these images are really powerful. Some of these images may evoke lots of different emotions. So it's just a beautiful thing when I look at these images, what they may evoke in terms of my practice, in terms of my spiritual practice. It doesn't necessarily have to be witchcraft, but when looking at some of these images in the licensing that I had, they were very powerful. They reminded me of my craft, and they reminded me of some of what my craft doesn't look like, but that there's an honoring in what others looks like and how I can respect that. And so anyways, this is a 63 card deck. This is actually pretty thick. When I bought this prototype, I upgraded the cardstock to the thick standard, even though I'm going to keep it on the listing as smooth, because this is kind of tough. This has been kind of tough to work with, but I wanted to check out just in case someone wanted to upgrade their cardstock, because some people like the thick oracles. You know, just depends on your preference, but the thin will probably work just as well. So anyways, this is even still, this is going to be a chunky oracle, and I just love that I was able to get all these images in here. And I think that this is going to be a good oracle that'll have lots of options, I guess. And the backs are this beautiful like fabric / fog, but it's kind of got some glitter into it. Like, so much going on in the background. But I love the mystery, the mystery of the backs. Love that. So anyways, that's the backs. Let's get started. I'll probably have the cards like I did last time in this corner, so that we can put them over here and you can actually see the images in the light, because the light from my window is coming through this way. So we'll see. Here we have some string poppets. Now this, I have a few renditions of poppets. As you'll see, some of the images that I have, there's like multiple poppets, but they all mean different things. Like, we build these poppets ourselves in like a corn husk kind of a way. Like, I feel like this is very traditional in nature. This is very like Bridget's, what is that called? Bridget's wheel? Where you map out the corn husks in a way. Anyway, so this is like it's like a poppet, but it's string. It's something you build. It could be something really tiny. I don't know. I also have a few renditions of art, like things we draw, things that we can do in terms of like sigil work, in terms of artwork, art magic, things like that. I think that there's so many things that we can utilize in our craft. And as you can see, there's no words on these images, because to me these represented altars of any literally any kind. I didn't want to devaluate the images by putting my keywords on them. So they're basically this. I think this oracle would be great for altar cards, or pulling a card or a few to figure out what your craft has been needing lately, to do certain spreads that would help you to map out your practice in a better way for you. That if people have been struggling with like spiritual ennui, I think that's what this oracle is going to be good at. I love to incorporate bones in my craft, and I think that even if you're not one of those people that involve bones, they're powerful symbols, and you can even take them out of the deck if you have to. You know, it's very much, I want this to be an interactive experience. This is postcards, this is travel magic, this is, I'm kind of considering this travel magic, but it's more about what, you know, dreams and where you want to go, and what that looks like in terms of your craft, you know, like pilgrimages, things like that. Salt, this is just normal salt. And you could say this is protection, you could say that this is home magic, you could just say this is cooking, like, it could literally go anyway. Now this, an altar I believe this is an altar / grave, and you'll see a lot of those happening as well, because in different cultures the practice may look different, and we want to be able to honor those things as well. So that's definitely a beautiful image of an altar outside, of an altar that we could put potentially outside in our yards, outside in a park, like altars we find outside in nature. Now here's a real poppet, but this, because of the way that the poppet is laying on a cloth of some kind, this is more poppet you may use in terms of divination, not necessarily in terms of self-care or something like that. Now here's just a picture of musical instruments, because I believe that music holds power. I believe that music evokes lots of emotions, and that those things are powerful in your practice. You know, I think that when you're writing spells, when you're doing ritual, music can be a powerful thing to have in the background. Not to mention, if you play an instrument, it's another form of using your hobbies, using what you love to do in your practice to aid and to make the practice your own. Here's a brick oven, or you could even say that this is a hearth magic. Like, there's just so many ways that you can interpret the cards because they have no keywords on them. So this is beautiful fire, hearth, home, whatever. Here's some Palo Santo. Of course, there's other things in the background and around the subject matter in these cards, but I love the fact that we can pinpoint to the middle of the card, to the subject, but then we can also look outside of the subject matter. Here's an athame. But look, we see some runes here. We see some beeswax candles. We see some twigs. We see fur. Like, this could just be anything. You know, what would that mean to you if you were to pull this? I love this card. This is just an abundant card. We see all these nuts and fruits, and like, just looks like a beautiful harvest, you know. I love this pregnant goddess statue here. This almost looks handheld, like you could hold this pregnant lady in your hand, and what that would evoke for you. Not to mention the roses and things like that. I love it. This kind of reminds me of Yule and Christmas, but it's very much a candle, and you're scrying in this crystal ball. But maybe that's not what that is for you. This beautiful besom. Seashells. The sea is a powerful entity, isn't it? And the shells that come out of there. The cauldron burns. Look at all this. These sacred beads, you know? Not to mention the art behind all of that, the sigils and oh, just so busy. I love this. This looks like a clock, but it's the zodiac. Just, you know, the wheel turns, the sand moves in the hourglass. Now, I did have to put nature in here, and not just objects, whether they be natural in nature, but or natural items. I wanted altars that could be inside ruins, inside the places of old, but that someone has romanticized and turned into a sacred place for them. You know, that this is someone's sacred place, even though it's not in its heyday anymore. And this is just a sacred stump in the middle of the forest. How powerful that altar would be. Candles and feathers and seashells, and this is moon water. I mean, how familiar are all of us with moon water? Here's some dolls. Puppet magic, but then also doll magic as well, like physical dolls, like inner child work, things like that. Here's toys. This is actual toys. This reminds me of Candy, because Candy's been doing, Candy Soul and Soil's channel over there, she's been painting the toy tarot, And this reminds me that how powerful toys can be in our lives, how they affect the lives of the children in our lives, how we tend to keep our favorite toys forever, never, never, sometimes, if we're able. And I just think that sometimes toys play a pivotal role in our spiritual practice as well, to get back in touch with our kid self, our inner child. Here's the art supplies. I use art all the time in my magic. I use art. Art magic is sacred. I believe that. For people who like to do those artistic things, art is such a powerful tool that we can use. Rope, binding magic. Sacred. These are gourds, so this could be vessels of some kind. I loved that. It says Nostradamus, which makes me think of prophecies. It makes me think of bibliomancy. It makes me think of all kinds of things. Oils, sacred oils. I love these little spell jars with sacred oils in them. Here's another type of an altar outside. This looks very ritualistic in nature. This looks like the aftermath of someone doing some kind of solstice work, or possibly praying and doing work with a deity. I don't know, just such a beautiful thing to look at. I love the light. I love the light in this. Skulls and the candles. It just looks so powerful. I think this is white sage. It's beautiful. See a lot of the things that we can burn, and we do burn in our witchcraft, like the Palo Santo and the sage. Here's some more Key of Solomon sigils. More cauldrons. Cauldrons are huge. And jars. We love our jars, don't we? I just love looking at jars. Books, pressed flowers. And isn't it fascinating how when we walk in nature, we have to come home with something, you know? I love that peacock feather. Just more things you collect on your journey. Sacred chakra work. If you do that, you could just go into color magic. Again, we're burning something. We're burning herbs. This isn't actually Palo Santo. This actually looks like some other kind of herb. It looks like yarrow to me, but who knows? Incense, sacred incense. This is actual incense, not just the herbs that we burn, because not a lot of people can burn herbs. That produces a lot of smoke, and incense is a good medium to that. If you want to have the element of smoke and air, but not have too much, smoke. This is burning of oil. I think that's so powerful when you think about fire. More rune work. Now this is an actual altar inside of an actual church. And there's so many Christian witches, and the power in ritual, especially in Catholicism. There's a power in ritual, there's a power in lighting candles and things like that. I believe that those are all beautiful things, and they have to be honored and respected. And you'll see more of the Christian side of things too later on. Here we see resins along with Palo Santo. We see some copal and some frankincense. I love this. I love burning frankincense. I love these herbs with these black candles, but then also like this person is trying to take a note of their herbs, make a little herb grimoire. I love these almost like mala beads with this lantern. They're not mala beads, but they could be prayer beads of some kind. Prayer beads are powerful things. Mirror work, mirror scrying. Dia de las Muertas. It's powerful. Small cauldrons. Wands. This is actually, I was looking at the wands when I selected this image. A sacred ink. This is an ink well. I love that. I mean, just goes to show the magic we put into things we write. Tea. We love our tea, don't we? Crystal work. I love this amethyst. It just is so powerful to look at. Here's some more sage. And this is incense burning in a vessel instead of out in the open. It's a pendulum, so pendulum work. It's another form of divination, you know? I love this. This is prayer candles. I think that's such a powerful image. I chose this image instead of one that was like all red candles, all red votives, because this just, how diverse we all are, how diverse the practice of witchcraft is, and how diverse prayer is, how everyone prays different. I think that's a beautiful thing. There's an actual crystal ball. That's a beautiful image of a crystal ball. Here's a book. Now this doesn't have to be Nostradamus. It doesn't have to be prophecy. It's just any kind of book. Could be a grimoire. Money magic. I love this image. It's like actual money spell happening, you know. And the last image is herbs, dried herbs. I just love this oracle so much. Oh my gosh, you guys, like, it's been so powerful to work with, because when I pull something, I want to be able to say, what does my practice need today? Right? Like, that's what I want to ask. Usually when I work with this deck, I'm like, you know, what does my practice need today? What is my focus of the practice need to be today? Ooh, prophetic art. Isn't that beautiful? Anyway, well, I had so much fun talking on camera again and showing my prototypes. I really wanted to share these with the world. They've just been a labor of love for me, and I don't know, I love them so much. I love working with them, and if you're interested, all the links for my decks will be below, including my Thoth, which has been really popular. They're all in the same listing under my shop, which you can just click below. And you can, if you don't want to buy a deck, you can always tip me on my Ko-fi page. That's always an option, and there's resources over there as well for you. All the links below. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've stayed till the end, I'm so appreciative that you wanted to hang out with me. And I will see you very, very soon for some more videos. I'm trying to get back into the swing of everything. So, much love.